Good morning and welcome back. We're back with our two tractors here, our 755 and our 855, and our two loaders, our Model 70 and a Model 52. In our last episode, we showed the similarities. They're both very similar. The two main differences were the way they come off. This one takes like 37 seconds to remove from the tractor. This one takes over 3 minutes. Still quick detach, but not as convenient. And the other main difference were the buckets. And you can see right here, the buckets have a lot of difference in angle, and that makes a big difference when you're trying to operate them. This one has a lot more tilt back, which is way better, and this one's not so much, and today we're going to do something about that. So first thing, I'm going to show you the difference. So this bucket tilts back 26 degrees like I showed you in the last video, and this one's about 15 degrees. Considerable difference, and it really makes a difference when you're trying to operate them. So today I'm going to try to fix this guy, and at the same time I'm going to see if I can make it quick attach. I don't know if it'll work, but I don't want to spend a lot of money, so I'm just going to use a lot of scrap material. So follow along and we'll get this done. So for my calculations, I don't think you can just go buy a quick attach plate and slam it on there and it's going to work, because obviously, you know, the backs of the buckets are totally different. So right now I'm going to show you the difference. But first, what I did was I went, and a friend of mine has a 1025R and his has the quick attach, and I checked a lot of stuff on his, the angle. So on that little 1025R, the angle of the bucket here at the back, when the bucket was flat on the ground, was about 68 degrees. Now this one's close, about 64 degrees. Now if you put it to 68, you're going to get that much more tilt back. If you're already starting from a disadvantage, that's not going to be good. Now this one's even worse. Not even 60 degrees. And if you go 68 or so degrees, when you start out, you know, the front of the plate at that angle, it'll help that much more. So the original John Deere attachment plate, and they're probably, you can buy, you know, the plate that goes on the bucket for about $100, and that's not too bad, but I'm too cheap to do that. But the attachment plate that goes on the arms, they're about $500 for the set, and I haven't seen anywhere where you can buy those cheaper. So I decided to make my own. So I made those measurements, and that's made out of 3/8 cast, and I wanted to do this out of whatever I had. So I've got all kinds of this 3/16 plate, and I've had it around for years, different widths, and I don't have all of it of the width that I need, but I'm going to make do. So what I did is I'm going to laminate them together. So I drilled all these, countersunk them, and I got a plate that fits on top of a plate there, and that's what I did here. And it's all rosette welded. And when I put it together, I'm going to have a little step here. So this here's sitting on top of that step. I'm going to weld it both sides, and then this other piece is going to go, and I'm going to weld it all the way around on a couple of rosettes. But this is just my proof of concept. If it works and it's strong enough, I'll leave it. If it isn't, but at least all my measurements and my holes and stuff, if they line up, I might have just wasted a whole batch of time and welding wire, but it gave me something to try. And I'm going to have to buy the proper material when I do the other tractor, and I might have to redo this, but I'll try it. We'll see what happens. So I was able to borrow this fork carriage frame, and it sure made the job a lot easier to how to figure out how this mount works. And I was able to measure this, and that's 1 1/8. And so I measured everything up, and that just fits in there like that. it was sure was handy having this around. I just use it as a template. And now the other one. All right, I have the other one all tacked up. It's on here, and I have a 3/4 inch joiner bar between the two of them. So they're both on there, and that pin locks in there just like that. I've got these 2 collars. I'm gonna add, extra support, and it acts as a spacer, so there's not too much of a gap in here with the yokes of the cylinders. All right, so I got the bucket all propped up here, piece of 2x4, and I got it approximately the angle I want. So if you just wanted to get more tilt back on your bucket, all you'd have to do is really, like I did here, make a template, and I transferred it to a piece of plywood. That way I was actually able to put the pins in it, and that'll give you your angle that you need. But of course I'm not that smart, so I went to go the whole 9 yards. I'm going to do the quick attach. So this is the quick attach bracket I made. I'll show you how I made that. And this here, what I did, same thing. I made a template, and I transferred it to a piece of plywood, and then I transferred it to a piece of steel, cut it out, truss fit it till it fit properly, because it's not a perfect, the bucket's not perfect. So then I made 3 more. So before I go any further, I'm just going to tack all these on, and I'm just going to try it to make sure I get my full range of motion that I want. And then I'll lop these off and put these in place and burn it in. Hope it's not too windy out here. All right. So I just got this all tacked together. I never even bothered putting the lock plate on the bottom yet. So I just got a bungee strap on there. And yeah, so it's all tacked together. So she's about halfway up. And look at that. Both tractors have about the same angle on the bucket. So that's just about 60 degrees. And that one as well. So far that looks great. Like the angle at the top of the bucket's a little bit off, but I'm not going to change the shape of the bucket, but at least the bottoms are the same. And put these down, see what they're like on the ground. There we go. They look pretty good. I think I'm going to go with that. So now I got to finish making these, the lock bracket for that, lock pin, and lop off those brackets in behind there. Straighten everything out, weld it up. Woohoo! So at least the theory works. Let's carry on. So I was pretty happy with the way everything was fitting. So this is what I did. I basically bead that out over here on this one, and I put a weld all the way across. So once that weld was all in, I ground it all down flat, and I put another bevel on it so I could add this plate. And finally, I welded this all the way around. And I chopped off the edges a little bit. I'm going to grind all this down. I'm going to put some rosette welds in there. As you can see, I have down there. Clean it all up. By the time I'm done with it, you'll hardly notice that it is even 2 pieces at all. All right, I'm going to carry on putting these together, and then we'll put them on the tractor. So I got them all welded up, cleaned up, ready to go. Let's take a look at them before we mount them on the tractor. See, everything's welded all the way around, ground. And right here I've got a 1-inch bar on top of my 3/16 plate, and that works out perfectly for the spacer. I got my 3/4 collars in there. I actually did make this a little bit too wide. If I was to make it again, I would make it a 1/4 inch wider, so I had to add these 1/8 washers on each side. But otherwise, they work fine. Now, These are made of 2 plates of 3/16 laminated together. Might not be as strong as a full 3/8 plate or the factory one, but I think this is definitely strong enough. And beautiful fall day out here. We are in the end of November, and I'm going to take advantage of this nice weather. I'm going to mount those guys on that, and I've got to put this connecting bar on. Okay, let's do that. The 2 brackets are installed. They fit pretty good. I've got my 3/4 locator bar between the 2 of them. And what I've done over here is I drilled the 1/4 inch hole through that 3/4 inch shaft, and I drilled and tapped this for a 1/4 inch bolt. And I put a 1/4 inch cutter key in there, and that'll hold that solid. So on this side, I've lopped off one of the ears off one of the pins that were down here, and I've already got the hole drilled there and everything for it. So I'm going to mark this and lop this off, and then we're going to weld that on in place, make sure she lines up. So I'm just going to mark it for now, and I'm going to leave it proud about a 1/4 inch. I'll cut that off now. All right, so I got my cotter pin all bolted in. That's nice and tight, lined up. So that lines this side. And I've got the tilt cylinders tilted all the way back. So they line up, and so they should be parallel. And they look okay. So I've got this ready to go. So I'm just going to weld that in there. Tack it, pull it out, finish welding it. Ran out of MIG wire, so I ended up going back to my flux core. Not as pretty, but it'll do the job. Good. Pull it out and finish it off. It's probably hot. So these 2 are essentially locked together now. Now, this is not a structural part. It doesn't figure into the strength of this. It's just to help keep them together when you're hooking it up to the bucket or an implement. So I think that'll work quite well. Okay, now to the bucket. Alrighty, remember these guys? So I fitted them up a little bit better. The real pain with these is all 4 of these all have to be different. They're all slightly different profile. I guess the bucket's not perfect. And I used the old gas axe, and I chopped that off. See that? I don't know if you can see the difference. There's only about an inch difference on that lower pin being further out, so it shouldn't really hurt the lifting capacity of this thing. So as far as the hook, I got a piece of 2 inch by 1/4 angle, and notched it in there, and I've added another piece on top. And after I weld this in, I'm going to put a piece in here just to strengthen it up both sides. So right now I've got these gouged out. I'm going to fill those in, grind them down, and then we're going to weld this to that. I did a little bit more of the cardboard assisted designing here, and I made 4 of those plates, and that's out of 5/16. And what I did is this is the other side, and I've got an 1 1/8 pin here with a 1/2 inch hole. You have to sort of line it up. There's another 5/8 plate there, and that'll go on the other side. So right now they're just tacked together. So I'm going to burn that in really good there. And then I'm going to bevel this out and weld that in there, both sides. And then we're going to weld it to the bucket. Hey guys, it obviously fits and it works. So let's see if making this modification was truly free. So I had lots of this steel. I mentioned that, and I still have some more left. Now the problem with it, it wasn't consistent since somebody had given it to me. So you look at that end, it's 3 7/8, and that end is 3 5/8. So all the pieces I had were all different widths, so I ended up having to cut them all lengthwise. And since the only amount of oxyacetylene I had was I was able to cut those brackets off. I didn't have enough to do any more, so I ended up having to use cutting wheels. Lots and lots of cutting wheels, which took a lot of time. And what ended up happening with this, I thought, hey, I'll just make twice the number of pieces. So for this, you think 3 pieces? Well, I had to make 6. And not only did I have to make 6 of those pieces, I had to, cut them all lengthwise. Then I had to mark them out, measure them, and drill them. And then I had to weld them all together, drill the rosettes in there, and it just took a lot longer. So I'll never do that again. So if I'm going to do it again on the other tractor, I'm going to buy the proper metal. The bottom line is, I do think they're strong enough. Like from here, they look like solid plates, like a 3/8 plate. Unless you look close here, I didn't grind down these rosettes, but the ones on here I did. So it looks like a nice, substantial attachment. Whether or not it's as strong as a John Deere cast one, I don't know, but I definitely think it's strong enough. So if you're looking at making one of these, here's the measurements. I've got the drawings there, and I end up, these are all my templates, and this is what I went by, all my measurements. Now, as far as actually buying stuff, the only thing I had to buy this 1 1/8 bar. That was about $20. I had to buy some 3/4 bar. That was about $30. And I had the 1-inch bar. And the only other thing I bought were these bushings. And there are spacers in here. So the only thing you'll have to check on yours, the measurements I got are for this one. I made this a little bit too wide because the John Deere clevis on the 1025R is a little bit wider. So I should have made it a little narrower. So the measurements I got you are the proper measurements. And what you'll end up doing is you want to have just 1/8 to 1/4 inch clearance on your clevis there. And you'll need bushings. You can either put them inside or outside, but since this has to be that width anyways to fit in here, you might as well put them on the inside. And the John Deere brackets over here, they've got reinforcements on them anyways. So it's basically the same thing. The pin doesn't turn on this. The pin is fixed. So the only part that turns is that, and it's got a grease fitting on it anyways. So I definitely think this is strong enough. Over here, I used a 1-inch over top of the 3/16, and it gave me 1 3/16, which seemed to work perfectly on that fork attachment. So whether or not, inch and 3/8, I don't think that'll work. But 3/4 over 3/8 might work. Over here, These are 5/16, and these are the brackets I made. I cut these. I could have cut them up a little bit more fancy up over there, but I added this reinforcement plate, just like the John Deere fork plate had. And this is all welded together. And down here, so you just take another one of your pieces of the plate, and that's the 1 1/8. And I showed you, I hang it out about a 1/4 inch and weld all around it. So it does work slick. I'm quite happy with it. I wouldn't do it again. It's way too much work. But, you know, for under $100, I got all this made. Took a lot of time. And I'll probably be making another one. I have my own fork attachment that I'm going to modify. Much easier to buy. I'll show it on the screen there. You can buy just the pocket. You can buy that pocket and the pin. So I would just use that again. Be a lot easier. Hey, so if you're going to build one of these, buy the regular plate. This was way too much work. You know, I got it done and it was cheap, but it was a lot of work. So buy 3/8 plate. On these, I suggest 4 1/2 inch. And by the time you put these little collars in, which is 1 1/8 inch, the two of them together, and you put your 3/8 plate on top of the 4 1/2 inch plate on each end, you'll have, you know, just around a 1/4 inch gap, which is perfect for what you want in here. So, because, you know, they got to slide a little bit. So, and some places, they'll even cut it to length for you for maybe $1 a cut. That might be worthwhile. You know, probably cheaper than all those cutting wheels after all. Just my 2 cents. Hey, I don't think I'm going to be using it for moving dirt anytime soon. It's winter here now. So the only thing I'll be using it for is probably plowing snow. I don't think it's quite as hard on it as dirt. But when I do get a chance, I'll use it. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.